In this ACT video, we're going to review two special right triangles. Now, we've got two triangles, and we see them a lot in trigonometry, but we're not going to do any trig in this video. We're just going to discuss the two triangles and practice using them. But these two specific triangles always have the same ratios for the lengths of the sides. Our two special right triangles are the 30, 60, 90 triangle and the 45, 45, 90. So what I have drawn over here, this is going to be our 45, 45, 90. And this triangle over here is going to be our 30, 60, 90. I don't have anything labeled on it, so let's go ahead and label this angle as 45 degrees and 45 degrees. And we already know that the legs are congruent because it's isosceles. But what the theorem states is that the two legs have the same measure, so we're going to label those as 1 and 1. And then the theorem states that the length of the hypotenuse is the length of a leg times the square root of 2. So we're just going to write that as the square root of 2. And there's an understood 1 in front of it, but we don't write that. So this 45, 45, 90 triangle, 1, 1, square root of 2, is going to help us to solve the missing pieces for triangles when maybe we can't use the Pythagorean theorem. Or we need to find some trig ratios, which I said is going to be in a different video. So you need to memorize that special right triangle. Your 30, 60, 90 triangle, the way I have this drawn is this is going to be my 60-degree angle down here, and up here is my 30-degree angle. Now the side opposite of 30 degrees, remember that's the shortest side because it's across from the smallest angle. So what this theorem says is we're going to label the shortest side as 1, and the hypotenuse is actually twice as long as the shortest side. So we're going to name that 2. And then the long side, this leg over here, is the square root of 3 times the short leg. So 1 times the square root of 3. We'll just make that square root of 3. So when I draw this, you'll hear me say, okay, let's draw a 30, 60, 90 triangle, 60 at the bottom, the 30-degree angle at the top, and then 1, 2, square root of 3. Okay? Now, if you redraw this and you're 30 degrees at the bottom and you're 60 degrees at the top, that's okay. It would look like this. 30. This is not to scale by any means. Your hypotenuse is still 2, but then your sides would flip-flop. This would be 1, and this would be the square root of 3. Okay, so just if you don't draw it exactly like mine, make sure that the correct number is across from the correct angle. Let's look at an example. Here we need to find the values of x and y, and this side is x, this side is y, and I want to go ahead and give you some more information, and this side should be 12. Okay, we've got a 30, 60, 90 triangle, and so the first thing we want to do is draw the 30, 60, 90 triangle that we just discussed, and so you should have it memorized. So I'm going to draw it, and the good news is the one I drew earlier matches up completely with this one, with the 60 at the bottom, the 30 at the top, 1, 2, square root of 3. And you've got two similar triangles, which we discussed in a previous video. We know we need to set up proportions for similar triangles. So we're going to have to set up two proportions here because we're looking for the length of this side labeled x and this side labeled y. So we know the hypotenuses correspond. So let's set up 12 over 2 equals, and then we'll go ahead and just do x. X over the square root of 3. Everything corresponds. Hypotenuse over hypotenuse equals long leg over the long leg. And we know how to solve this. We just cross multiply. 12 times the square root of 3 is just going to be 12 square roots of 3. 2 times x is just 2x. We're going to divide by 2 on both sides. 2's cancel. X is equal to 12 divided by 2 is 6 square roots of 3. Okay, now if I can keep from using this information to find y, then that's what I'm going to do. Okay, sometimes we have to use this information to solve for the other pieces, But if I can keep from using this to solve for other pieces, then I'm going to try not to use it. Just in case if we got something wrong here, then automatically the next part would be wrong as well. So we're going to use the ratio 12 over 2 again. But now we want to solve for y, so the other side is going to be y over 1. Hypotenuse to hypotenuse, short leg to short leg. Cross multiply, 1 times 12 is 12. 2 times y is 2y. Divide by 2 on both sides. Y is equal to 12 divided by 2, which is 6. So we've solved for x and y using our special right triangles. Let's go ahead and try one more, and let's do one with a 45, 45, 90 triangle. So let me draw a triangle for you. There we go. And this will be our second example. We need to make it a right angle. We know these legs are congruent. Let's go ahead and label those x and y, and let's label the hypotenuse 6. Okay, so this is not labeled as 45, 45, 90, but you're supposed to know that it's a 45, 45, 90 because it's a right triangle. The legs are congruent, so that makes the base angles congruent, and they would have to be 45 and 45. So sometimes they'll leave off that information, and you have to figure it out, or you're supposed to know it. So since this is a 45, 45, 90, I need to draw the 45, 45, 90 that I memorized, and I'm just going to turn it this way so it matches the one that was given. And this is 1, 1, and the square root of 2. Now, I labeled these missing pieces as x and y, but we really don't have two problems here. We only have to find one of these because we know they're congruent. Okay, so let's just go for x. We're going to set up a proportion because these are just similar figures. X over 1, leg over leg, equals 6 over the square root of 2. Remember, setting up proportions, everything needs to correspond. I think I used the words matchy-matchy earlier. So everything in the numerator, the x and the 6, come from the black triangle, and the denominator, the 1 and the square root of 2, come from the red triangle. And cross multiply, that's going to be x times the square root of 2 equals 1 times 6 is 6. We're going to have to divide by the square root of 2 on both sides. Square root of 2's cancel. X is equal to 6 over the square root of 2. And we can't stop here because we need to rationalize that denominator. So we'll review that also. We're going to multiply this by square root of 2 over square root of 2, which gives us 6 square roots of 2 over 2. And then we can go ahead and simplify 6 over 2 right there for a final answer of x is equal to 3 square roots of 2. And we also want to write that's equal to y. So we can just write it as one big sentence. Y is equal to x, which is equal to 3 square roots of 2. So memorize those two triangles. In the next video, we're going to use the 30, 60, 90 and the 45, 45, 90 to find some very common trig function values.